Hello and welcome to Weekend Winners in association with BetVictor. This is your go-to show for your best bets ahead of the weekend. And this weekend, we're going to be looking ahead to Newbury's Super Saturday card. As well as that, our anti-post race in focus is going to be the Gold Cup, the big race itself. And I'm going to be looking ahead to all of these races in the company, of course, as always, of Declan of attheraces.com, as well as Sam Boswell of BetVictor. Lads, great to have you both here again. Sam, much better results last weekend.
Yes, we vastly improved, didn't we? We had winning naps. I was very lucky. Well, lucky's probably playing it up a bit. El Fabiola was fantastic, wasn't he, for Daryl Jacobs? One of the highlights of the Dublin Racing Festival. What a brilliant weekend. I think Declan and me are just about recovered.
So you were both at Leopard, Sam. We should acknowledge that. Declan, as Sam said, recovered?
Just about, yeah, it was good. There was a couple of mates I didn't see over Christmas and that because they were ill. I got to see some family as well. And, you know, the racing was just class. Leopard Sound's a brilliant venue for racing. It was a unbelievable weekend. But, yeah, just about recovered.
Just about. You look healthy enough anyway. Now, as a reminder to gamble responsibly, of course, we say that every single week our tips are not guaranteed to win, but we're still going to do our best to point you in the right direction. And do remember to subscribe to the At The Races YouTube channel as well, so you never miss an episode. Right, let's crack on with our first race, because the first race on our card is going to be the Grade 2 Denman Chase. This is over 2 miles 7 at 2.25, and BetVictor currently have the race priced up with Hitman as the 7-4 market leader. But a pretty open race, guys. So, Declan, starting with yourself, please, your first impressions.
Yeah, I actually think it's a pretty tricky race, to be honest. You've got 4 of the 7 fielder first-time headgear in there. Eldorado, Allen, Sam Brown and Fanny and Destreval all wear first-time cheek pieces, while Kalashnikov is first-time blinkers. To add to the puzzle, then, we don't know how it's going to be run. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to be run. Kind of when you contrast current running styles to previous running styles, I'm not sure, but I think the key horse is maybe does he know. I think if he's going to win, he needs to go at least a solid even tempo. But look, I think the bet in the race is actually going to be Fanny and Destreval for me. The first time cheek pieces are very interesting. I think he needs them. Like last year, he looked so straightforward, travelled and jumped everywhere he went. This season he's been behind the bridle, just hasn't travelled. But I'm hoping the cheek pieces will, 1, sharpen up how he travels, and 2, sharpen up how he jumps. We saw what cheek pieces did for Time Hill at Kempton over Christmas. If it's a similar effect here, I think he's overpriced. He should be second favourite.
Oh, should be set bullish from Declan, Sam. So he thinks you got this price up wrong. What are your thoughts?
Well, thankfully, it's not me that does the prices. I'll report back to our traders and tell them they've got it wrong. But I actually have a bit of an agreement in terms of the pricing. I know Hitman's a really good horse, but obviously he bled last time out. Do you want to take 7-4?
No way.
Personally, I don't. And I think that the winner for me will come from last year's winner, Eldorado Allen. This is really probably his Gold Cup, if we're being honest. He's had to contest some fairly warm races through the season. Last year's renewal, would you argue, for all it was a smaller field, was probably a bit more competitive in terms of what he had to beat? Royal Pagaille, Clandazobo probably didn't run his race that day, but I think he's a cracking little horse, and he's not quite at that top level, but he is a Saturday horse that can turn up and win these type of graded races.
He's actually one horse I'm convinced wants the cheek pieces. I thought the Betfair Haydock run this season showed that he needed them. They didn't put them on at Kempton. But I probably didn't mention in my own analysis was he's got to give Fanny and Destreval £6. He's got a big penalty to carry, which is what put me off. I love him as a horse, though. He's a cracker. He jumps and travels, and he was very good in this race last year.
Yeah, he was, wasn't he? But I'm in agreement with Sam that I also think Eldorado Allen's a horse to beat in this race. I think it was a stronger renewal last year. He's still only a 9-year-old. Feels like he's been around forever, but he's so consistent. Like I say, would I take Hitman on the back of bleeding last time out? He only won his penultimate start because he got an uncontested lead anyway, didn't get the race. I think he's a bit soft, really. So actually, if Eldorado Allen can really put it to him, I think he'll double up in this race as well. So Eldorado Allen for me. Sam?
Eldorado Allen for me.
Declan?
First race and we're already button heads. Fanny and Destreval for me.
It didn't take long whatsoever. Now, of course, do remember to leave your own selections in the comments as well. We always want to hear from you, so do let us know your own thoughts ahead of that race. And we have more Grade 2 action up next. This is the Game Spirit Chase, again at Newbury. This comes up at 3 o'clock. Now, we have Grenadine as a very short price favourite in this race, Sam. So how are we playing this?
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? 4-9 Grenadine. Let's be honest, it's probably not the best renewal we'll ever see of the Game Spirit, but I suppose from an angle point of view, it is an opportunity to look at various markets on site. We do offer the length and the odds, and I'm fairly convinced Grenadine's going to win this by a fair distance. So I'll be taking a look on the day and seeing what we'll offer. But something like over 3.5 lengths for me, I think this race is a good example of why Paul Nicholls wins the trainer's title with relative ease. He's got a good horse in here, but realistically, there's nothing close enough for my money to get involved on beyond backing the favourite, which I know is a boring suggestion, but he's a good horse, isn't he? And that's reality of where we are with it.
I think you're very fair with that, to be honest with you, and the price is obviously reflective of it as well. But Declan, this is a very feasible Grade 2, I would say, for one of these to pick up. So how are you playing it? Yeah,
well, I think this race sets up a more straightforward tactics-wise. I think with Fumbola Solobola in there, Grenadine and Alexia de Nuts, there's going to be good pace to run at here. So look, the best horse should win. I just wonder with Grenadine, could he be a little bit vulnerable, especially at that kind of price? Look, we know he's the best horse on form, but he's had 2 tough races this season. Paul Nicholls, a master of his trade, he will have backed off him a good bit to freshen him up for those big spring festivals, you know, the Champion Chase and the race at Sandown at the end of the season. I think the way to go here is betting without Grenadine. I'm convinced these markets are very underutilised in the game. You know, if you take Grenadine out of this race, it's a far more open betting heat and a more intriguing race. And I think Malistic is the one to go with. Yeah, I know.
Sorry, I wasn't hiding that face then. Oh!
Yeah, look, he just looks, this could be his kind of Gold Cup, if you get me, or his Champion Chase, however you want to put it. He just looks like a horse in top order at the moment. He's jumping and travelling for fun. You know, the last 2 times that he's won, he's soon after 3 out, the race has been wrapped up. Now, look, it is a step up in grade for him, absolutely no doubt. But, you know, Funambul Savola, the other class horse in the race, he's got to give him weight, and his form's been a bit in and out this season. So I think Malistic for the north coming down here, this could be his kind of Gold Cup. Look, if he wins or finishes second to Grenadine, you'll get paid. And anything around 2-1, 9-4, maybe even bigger. Let's say 3-1 is a bet for me.
So without the favourite markets then for you, Declan. So like I say, multiple ways to play this, though, with BetVictor anyway. Now, I'm going for a shameless each-way play in this, because I think Grenadine is evidently the horse to beat, but there's no hiding place in the market with him here. So I'm going for each-way about Funambul Savola, just about scraping the each-way price then. Oh, it's filthy, isn't it? I'm almost embarrassed to say it myself. But if he can just bounce back to the form that he showed last season when he finished second in the Champion Chase, I would be very disappointed if the other 3 rivals behind Grenadine could be finishing in front of him. He hasn't been seen to any extent of that effect so far this season, but I really like him, and like I say, I think it's a pretty feasible Grade 2 for him to at least run into a place here. So Funambul Savola each way for me, Declan.
Yeah, it's going to be Malistic without Grenadine for me, please.
Sam?
I'll take the favourite to win by at least 3.5 lengths or more. We'll have a look on the day and see what the length and the odds markets come out as.
So many different ways to play this race anyway. And again, do let us know your own ways that you're playing this from a betting perspective, selections, any thoughts ahead of that. Now we're going to move on to the Betfair Hurdle. Now, this really is a betting heat that we get on Saturday, again at Newbury. Comes up at 3.35 over 2 miles. Now, a premier handicap. So, Declan, hugely competitive. So who are you siding with?
Yeah, look, again, tactically, I like to always start with pace in these races. You've got Highway 102, Hacker de Place, Oak and Risque, one more for the road, Teddy Blue and Monival all in there. I think the best horse basically wins this race. But look, I really like Hacker de Place. He's not the biggest horse in the world, but he doesn't have jump and he doesn't have travel. I think he's going to get some real good pace to run at last year. He was impressive at the Aintree Grand National Festival last year. I think he's a better horse again this season, to be honest. It's interesting, Paul Nicholls was saying on the run-up to this race, I think last night I saw some quotes, Paul was looking to use the race he won at Cheltenham last time as a prep.
That's mad,
yeah,
isn't it?
So if he comes forward again, you know, he can go close. Look, I think tactically the race fell for him a lot better compared to Might Eye the last day. But look, I think he's going to get that pace to run at. His jump and his dynamite, and a flat track on good ground shouldn't be any issue to him. And look, Paul Nicholls with 5-year-olds in this race, I think is a little angle to look into. He does quite well, so it's going to be Hacker de Place for me.
He certainly knows how to win this race. Now, sorry, Sam, just to jump in there, but because I'm in total agreement about Hacker de Place. I think he's such an upwardly mobile horse. He's so progressive. We say Paul Nicholls' record in this race is so solid. And last time out, he just hit the front 10 minutes too soon. I think Paul Nicholls was even quoted as saying that himself, hence why he was hanging away to his left. I think he was far more value for that. He has to carry the penalty for this. It was 14 days ago, but all the same, I just want that upwardly mobile, progressive horse. So Hacker de Place is the one for me as well. So you're going to join the bandwagon?
No, absolutely not.
Nope.
No. I'm going to be really boring and side with the favourite here, Kate.
Oh.
I mean, but I'll give you some backstory. So the favourite finished third to my mate Mozzie in a race that BetVictor sponsored over in Ireland. I was there that day, and I wish I could say I'd written some really interesting notes to suggest that this horse was going to come on and turn into a Betfair hurdle horse. I look back, there was nothing mentioned. But since then, he's obviously changed trainer to Emmett Mullins. He's won twice. The last day at Wincanton, you wouldn't have seen too much if you watched the replay. The fog was pretty bad.
What a way to handicap a horse.
Yes.
No
Well,
one can see it.
Just the way the Mullins team like it, I bet.
Yes.
But if you do watch the way he goes through the line, I was very, very taken with that. The win at Doncaster as well was pretty good as well. I think he's good value for his mark now, 131. The third and fourth from that Wincanton run, for all it was a handicap, but then gone on and won as well. I do just think there's a lot of substance to it. And obviously, it's really lazy to just go, oh, it's Emmett Mullins, so we're running scared of him. But you have to respect his record. He is a good, big race targeting trainer who can improve horses dramatically.
I've got a stat for you.
Go on.
Oh,
One Irish-trained winner of this race since 1976.
How many have tried it, Dec, though? How many have
A
tried
few.
it?
I think Willie's had 19
Yeah,
runners in the
few.
race
Willie
with 2
Mullins.
places.
Fielden
This is a different Mullins, and you've got to respect all the Mullinses. But yeah, that's, you know, with the old Irish tax coming over when they run over in this country, as well, makes things a little bit harder, especially in those colours for the trainers. But to be fair, he was very impressive the last day, wasn't he? And the fact that JP McManus has gone in and bought him as well is interesting. So
My heart absolutely bleeds for that Irish tax. Right, now you and I, we're sporting the purple and black, so we're both with Hacker de Place. Sam, just to reiterate your selection?
Oh, it's got to be the favourite for me, Philo Bay.
Of course. Right, that is a look ahead then to the Betfair hurdle. We're going to be moving over to the Sky Pad next, as we're going to be looking ahead to the Gold Cup, the blue ribbon event of National Hunt Racing. As well as that, I'll be getting the lads' best bets for the weekend. Now, we're only 5 weeks away from the Cheltenham Festival, and we're going to use this time to look ahead to the big race itself, the Cheltenham Gold Cup. Now, Declan, you have a very curveball, left-wing sort of approach to this, but utilising the non-runner money-back concession.
yeah, no, exactly. I think the non-runner money-back concession was the key to this bet. We're going to have to keep scrolling here, lads, because Shishkin is not on that price board. He's 25 to 1, non-runner, no bet. A horse, I think he's one of the few horses, if he comes back to his peak form, he's got the kind of the class, the Magic Galopin de Champs and an A Plutard. He runs next week at Ascot in the Ascot Betfair Chase. If he wins there, you know, 25s is gone.
He won't be 25.
Yeah,
Dec,
no,
that's
exactly.
safe to
You know,
say.
and if he absolutely bolts up, if he comes back to the form of when he beat an Ergamine, I reckon he's probably second favourite, to be honest. Yeah, like he could still go for the Ryanair, but I get the feeling that Nicky Henderson just hates the Ryanair. You know, he's old school, and I love the Ryanair. I think it's a cracking race. We've seen so many good performances. But look, the reason is, first of all, Shishkin, I think he's always been a little bit of a behind the bridle horse, even though he's quite classy and he's obviously quick. But, you know, he's never really travelled like a proper 2-miler to me. Behind the bridle, probably saves a little bit for himself. I think he's going to love going up and trip. I really do. He's by Sholikoff, who is already sired Gold Cup winner, and Don Cossack. Sounds Russian, who's been progressive for the Ruth Jefferson Yard this year. He's another son of Sholikoff. But he's out. The dam's related as well. Plenty of stamina on the dam side. The dam's by Exit to Nowhere. Related to Voller Lavedette, second to Big Bucks in the Stayers Hurdle, and another horse called Hennessy, who I think won a Bet365 Gold Cup once upon a time. I think when you match up the class, if he comes back to his best, the pedigree and his running style, wouldn't be a big surprise if he ended up in the Gold Cup. He's got a bit of a Sizing John feel to him. Remember the year Sizing John won the Gold Cup? He had that back class, bit behind the bridle, and he just managed to kind of, when he went up and trip, his form just got better and better. It's late in the season for left field picks, but I think this is an interesting horse, especially at the prices. Non-runner, no bet, as we said. If he doesn't run, we get our money back, and it's a good saving incentive.
Pedigree stats, left, right and centre there from Declan. That was quite unbelievable to be reeling those off in that manner, Sam. So have you got any other angles like that?
Well, I'm going, I guess, the other end of the side. Declan's talking about a horse that's been excelling over the shorter trip, and I'm looking at Noble Yates, who, obviously, we all know, well touted for winning the Grand National trip, which is a real marathon. But this season, I've been really taken with this horse. I think he's an absolute star. I really like him. Obviously, he went to France, and we can put a line through that run. Then the Wexford run was fine. And the Many Clouds, I mean, visually, it's in my top 3 races this season. Just to watch a horse finish the way he did suggested that there is a hell of an engine there. I appreciate a few people might have been a bit concerned with the run at Cheltenham. I saw him in the paddock. I wouldn't be the best paddock judge, but I did think there was a little bit left to work on, and people that I respected certainly seemed to agree. So I'll take their word for it over mine. He to me just strikes me as I just think there's so much improvement still there. I really, really do think, and I know there's been some bullish sounds from connections about going for the Gold Cup, and my word, it would be fantastic if he could go and do the double. I mean, could you imagine the scenes? Gold Miller, you've got to go back to for the last horse that did in the same season. But I really like him for a Gold Cup. One thing I would say about the Gold Cup as well, I've not got any disrespect towards the favourite Galloping de Champs. I think he's an incredibly classy horse, but sometimes those Gold Cup horses aren't the classiest that win it, if that makes sense. Sometimes you need something that can plod and stay on, and I think Noble Yates ticks that box.
Oh, OK then. So for stamina to come to the fore, as we see Galloping de Champs up on the screen there, but there's, as we said beforehand, that there's no real hiding places then for his price. There's nothing too much value in there, in my opinion, about Galloping de Champs. So I'm also going for a bit of a left field selection as well. Mine is also not on the screen, so we'll keep scrolling down to find him. Hewick, a horse that has just been forgotten about. You know, we talk about recency bias, and Hewick for me just represents a fair amount of value at 20 to 1. We always knew we weren't going to see him over the winter. He was going to be saved for the better ground. His official rating of 167 is well earned, in my opinion, and that puts him bang up there with the better horses in this race. So 20 to 1, make that reappearance. The script is there for Hewick for me each way. Declan, just to reiterate.
Yeah, it's going to be Shishkin for me. If he comes back to his best, you know, just no way he's a 25 to 1 shot.
No, and Sam?
Noble Yates.
Yep, exactly. 6 to 1 then. But at least we've all tried to take on Galloping de Champs at the head of the market. Again, do let us know your own selections for the Gold Cup. 5 weeks out then before the Blue Ribbon event. Leave us a note in the comments there with your own Gold Cup selection. Now, the lads are going to give me their best bets of the weekend. So Nap, next best, long shot. Declan, you know the score by now, so your best bets ahead of the weekend. My best bet is going to be Fanny and Destraval in the Denman. I do think he should be second favourite. We've already touched on him earlier. Hoping the cheap piece is sparking back to life. Next best is going to be Malistic without Grenadine. I think that's a good bet. I'm not sure if he's 9 to 1. If he's 9 to 1, I think I'm going to have to run right now to the nearest bookie and get on. Found one right here. There we go.
Yeah, he's got 9 to 1 without, I can tell you that.
And the long shot, I think Glorian Fortune has got a really good each-way shout in the Betfair Hurdle. Obviously won the race last year. Been over fences this season. I think the key to this horse is strong pace and good ground. He's going to get both this year. I was so impressed with how he won this race last year. You know, how he travelled through the early and mid part of the race. He just kept getting closer and closer and closer. I think he runs off 148. I think when he ran in the Champion Hurdle, I actually had him running to 153. So I think he's well handicapped. We've seen top weights and lots of British races do very well, and I think he's a big price at 14 to 1.
Rixie's ratings coming to the fore there for Glory and Fortune as your long shot. Sam, your own best bets.
Yeah, right. Let's try and get back-to-back Nap winners. I know Love Envol is going to be a short price, but she's just a brilliant horse, isn't she? The 2 wins at Sandown this season have been fantastic. A brilliant placement as well from Harry Fry. Very careful with this horse, and she'll go to the festival with a really live chance. I fully expect her to do the business at Warwick. The next best. Now, I wouldn't usually be too much of a punter in bumpers, but Go to War made my shortlist after winning really nicely on debut at Uttoxeter. He's a 5-year-old in this field. He obviously has to contest a little bit more weight, but Fergal O'Brien seems to have bounced back to some really good form. He's operating at, I think, around a 30% strike rate at the moment at time of recording. The second in that run has gone on and won at Cheltenham in a decent bumper for Ollie Murphy. I think Go to War is just a really, really interesting horse, and one that I definitely am quite keen to side with this weekend. And then my final selection, the long shot. I find these long shots really hard, Kate, so I really tried to find something a bit left field, I suppose. But Thunder Ahead for Alan King. Last seen tailed off at Southall on the artificial surface, but go back through his hurdle form. He won a juvenile hurdle at Doncaster. It forever seems to pull this horse and does need to settle, but I think this 2-mile handicap, he'll get a hard sort of pace that might well suit, and I just thought he was a bit of a squeak. I think he was a double-figure price last time I checked, so yeah, he's my long shot.
Yes, so long shot then. So you have thrown us a few more curveballs then, Sam, with your own best bets. Now, for me, my nap, why not go for the Betfair Hurdle, the most competitive race of the weekend? Why not nap in it? I'm a glutton for punishment, hacker de place, for all of the reasons that we mentioned beforehand. Hugely progressive. Paul Nicholls knows how to win the race. Next best, Eldorado Allen, again for the reasons that I mentioned before, to hopefully win back-to-back Denman chases. I think he's a very fair price. My long shots, now a bit odd really, because I'm also going to be in the Betfair Hurdle for my long shot. So in playing Yorksea each way for this, 16 to 1 I think is a very fair price about a horse that also won last time out. Yes, it was only at Fontwell, but it's a course and distance he really likes. He raced wide throughout that, so I think he was far more value than even the impressive win suggested. Up £7 for that, but it's for that winning combination, Gary Moore and Niall Houlihan, stealing £3 of a claim on his back anyway, and I think the race will be run to suit him with plenty of pace on. That should just bring him into it. So Yorksea then for my each way play in the same race as my nap. But anyway, we'll quickly bypass that. So that is all of our best bets ahead of the weekend. Best of luck with your own bets. Again, do leave us a comment in the video with your own best bets for this weekend. Do remember you can keep up to date with all of the action on the attheraces.com website as well as the ATR app. Thank you so much to Declan and to Sam for all of their hard work as ever on this week's show. Best of luck yourself this weekend. We'll be back next week where we will be previewing the Ascot Chase.